You're lucky.
So I got myself up and I got the bike and I walked home like that, right? But that was on Friday night. Saturday I had great tacos, right? Sunday I did something else. Monday, you know, here I am, man, walking around again. So I was using his cane. Yeah, I said, thank God you have that cane because I couldn't even move hardly.
Had broken your femur.
But I worked out today, so I just, you know, but now I have to stay off that scooter for a while because if I take a fall, I have a seat. If I'm on a seat, I would never put my foot down. First thing on a motorbike, you never put your foot down. If you do, you'll break your foot, your leg, you know. And so you just fishtail, you fishtail around the objects, right? But that takes years of experience, which I have. But on a scooter, that's a new thing. That's called, watch out, accidents waiting to happen. But a lot of people have had scooter accidents in their faces, and my God, they're knocked out, ambulance takes them, and it's just like horrific. But I'm going to tell a story about an adventure that I had in 1988. And I was doing a lot of archery shooting. And in the early 80s, I would go to my Kung Fu school, my teacher's school, before I became a master in their school, which took, I was there 8 years, whatever, 10 years. And I would see them downstairs shooting archery. And I shot archery, a little bit, but I picked it up and I really got good at it. So when I'm in the Rocky Mountains, I had a friend of mine that came out, and I was shooting in the clubs, and he goes, "Man, you're really good. You go elk hunting and deer hunting." And I said, "Yeah, I'm out all the time, right?" But I had taken my bow and I used to use a button. So I put the button in my mouth, and then I put the button in my mouth and shoot. And then I said to myself, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to change position. Instead of holding it here, I'm going to hold it right here behind my chin, so I can grab like this, and it's a better anchoring position." So the more you shoot archery, the better you get at different ways of holding a bow. You get more efficient. So I thought that was a more efficient way. I was in the club and I'm shooting, and I'm getting lots of bullseyes, and happy with my shooting. And I go out, for evening hunt sort of thing, and I go out in the woods. And I'm sitting there, and I got my binoculars, and I'm looking out, and I see this huge moose. It's gigantic, and I go, "Wow, wouldn't it be nice if that moose came where I was, that I'd get that moose, So I'm walking in the woods. So I'm slowly walking, and it's called still hunting. So you walk, and then you look around. And then you take another step, and you walk, and you're quiet, because there's bears and cougars and wolves and coyotes. So you want to be aware of where you're going, because you don't want to alarm them, especially if it's a predator. It'll see you, it'll come after you. So I'm walking, and I feel something. And I'm going, "Jesus, there's something looking at me." I'm thinking, "What is it?" But I can feel it, and it's at sunset. So I'm looking in this direction. And I'm looking. And I know there's something there. So I close my eyes, and I open my eyes again. And there's this big log, like this log tree, just kind of goes, about 8 feet high, maybe 8 feet high and across. And I'm looking, but under it, right? And all of a sudden I close my eyes, open again, and I look, and I get startled. I go, "What the heck is that?" And the size of this table, maybe a little higher, about that high, was an owl. An owl.
Wonderful.
And it was a great horned owl. And I thought great horned owls were like that, right? No, not where I was. It was like that big.
Wow.
That big.
What?
Yeah, and I looked, and I said, "Oh my, what is that?" I couldn't believe it. And I'm looking at it, and now it knows I see it, because it's been watching me the whole time, right? And it had talons. Like the talons, this thing was big, but the talons were the size of my hands, twice as big. I said, "Oh my God, look at the size of his talons." but he had a headlight, you know, in the ears, and I just couldn't believe it. I said, this has got to be like a giant owl. How could it be possible? And then it went like this. It just looked at me and went, he jumped, you know, his wingspan was like 8 feet from one end to the other.
Oh my God.
It was so big, and it went like this, and it went over my head, and you could hear it. And I go, wow. So it took, you know, all my attention. So it didn't matter if there's a deer there or an elk there or whatever. I was focused on what I was seeing. And so I was thinking, wow, I can't believe I see this great horned owl. I had no idea how big they were. So I'm walking, thinking about the owl, and all of a sudden comes running, I move, and this owl, and the moose, that's all, came running right by me. So I went, oh, that's what I get for, you know, watching this owl, right? So I said, okay, I'm gonna pack it up. And so as I'm leaving, I'm on a hillside, and I look back, and I see this huge 5x5 mule deer. And so I look at it and I go, it's about 80 yards away. I said, oh, I don't know if I should or not, you know, it's a long shot. And I go, if I miss, I'll miss, but if I get it, that'd be a great story. Right? So I get my bow and I look at it, and I look, and that actually, I watch the arrow go, and it's going, and all of a sudden, boom, it hits the deer. Oh, see the deer jumps up, and it runs. And so I go, oh my God, I can't believe we hit this thing 80 yards away, hit this deer. So I go down, by the time I go down, it's dark. And that's when all the predators come out. But I see the blood trail, and I see my arrow. I pick up my arrow, and I look at it, and I go, okay, it's a hit, but what kind of hit is it? Right? Normally a hunter wouldn't do that. I did do that. I don't do it. I wouldn't do it again, but I did it one time. And so I grabbed the arrow, and I said, it's too late to get it now. I'll come back in the morning. Because it's big, you know. I said, this thing will protect itself at night. It's a fighter, you know. So I'll go back in the morning to the same spot, and I'm walking around, and you know, there's a bush here and a bush there, and I'm following the trail, and the trail leads right here. And there's little tiny bushes right here. And I'm going, it ends here. And so I look around, I look over there, and I look over here, and I go, well, the trail ends right here. I don't understand, and I look. And that deer was hiding in that little bush. And there's the horn, say, oh my God. Maybe, you know, maybe it's dead. So I would, you know, obviously take it and clean it, whatever. So I go up to it, it opens his eyes, he jumps up, and he starts to run. And oh, I didn't even have an arrow in because I thought it was dead, right? So that's my hunting career, right? Early days. So I followed the deer, and I get to the deer, and at the back of this wall, literally, as high as that right there. There's no lie. There's this fence because there's a gully and there's a fence, and it would have to run up this side of the hill and that side of the hill. But I'm coming at it now, and I have an arrow. And so I'm watching it, and it's running, right? And I'm going to take a shot. And I said, well, maybe I didn't hit it, you know. If it gets away, let it get away, right? It'll be good. But I was watching it, so it runs. It looks at me, looks at the fence, it jumped. And it hit near the top of the fence, fell back, right? And I said, it's done. So I take the rifle, it's done. I go up, it gets up again, looks at me, and it runs, and it clears that fence.
Oh my gosh.
Cleared it, and I went, my God, that's just the most amazing thing I've ever seen, right? Cleared that fence, and I said, I'm not chasing anymore. I know it was healthy enough, and I was glad that, you know, it's the way it was, right? But I wasn't going to leave an injured animal and not finish it off if I had to. So, to my point, I was practicing, you know, changing direction for shooting and stuff. My friend, who's from Vancouver and Roberts Creek, Mike Pruitt is the thing, and he goes, can you take me hunting with you? I want to see what you do. And I said, yeah, well, I just changed my thing. I think it's going to be better shot. And he goes, okay, let's go. So we're up at 5 in the morning, we get to where we go at about 6, and then sun breaks, you know, and I said, what we're gonna do, we're gonna sit in the wheat fields, and we're gonna watch for bucks. He goes, how do you do that? I go, what you do, in the wheat field, you see their horns moving through the wheat, and that's how you know. He goes, really? well, how are you gonna get them to come to you? And I said, I'm gonna do baby elk call, calf call. And he goes, how do you do that? And it's like this. But it's like, ooh, ooh, right? Of course, at that time, I'd have a little reed, and I'd blow on the reed. And all of a sudden, this buck comes running through the woods because the whitetails and the elk, they don't get along, they'll fight for territory. And this whitetail, he was going to kick my ass. It really was. And I'm sitting there, and I'm along the fence on this side, and the deer's coming down from that side. My friend's about 20 feet from me, right? And the deer comes within 20 yards. Perfect kill shot, right? 5x5, it's got velvet, this thing's snorting everything, and he looked at me, he couldn't believe it. So I'm in camouflage, and I stand up like this, and the deer looks at me like this, turns to the side, I aim, boom, 20 yards, and the arrow goes under his belly, and I went, he's looking at me like, what? So I go, I get another arrow, it doesn't move, it's still looking at me. Boom, it goes under the belly again, I go, oh my God, what? So it still doesn't move, I get closer, and I do the same shot, I shoot and I miss. I go, I can't believe it. He goes, how could you miss? I said, I don't know what's going on, But I changed my anchor point. So this was normal, and if I went back to my eye, I was shooting down. Because I shot like this, and then it changed my anchor point. I went up, so I was shooting it low, and so the deer just bounced away, and he goes, I can't believe it. So I get my arrows, I hardly ever miss, right? But because I changed my format for shooting, saved that deer's life, right? So we're going home, and we pull into another place, and we go for a little short walk, and there's another deer. And the deer is standing by a tree, right? And I go, okay, I got it this time. But I still haven't figured out that I moved my anchor point. So I go back to the same shot thinking, this is great, I don't understand what's going on. So I get up there, and he's looking, oh, you got this. And I shoot, boom. I goes under it, hits the tree. I said, I can't believe it. So I go high, boom, right? Goes over his back, and I go, no, I can't shoot anything, right? And so I go, I shoot again, and the thing walks away. I get no more arrows, right? So I got to go up, pull my arrows out, and we went home, and that was my learning about when you change a situation like a rifle or a thing, you have to practice with it. Because if you've been shooting something for maybe years, and all of a sudden you change, you go back to the natural stance. And so now, of course, I shoot like this. But that day, there's like 2 deer that are alive because I changed my, maybe it was meant to be like that, And so that's my story. That's it. Thank you.
What do you do with the deer when you kill it?
Well, what I do is I eat the meat, right? So it's venison. And so what I would do is I get the deer and I would gut it, right? And I'd take the hide off, quarter it, and then put it in my truck, right? It's less mess leaving it out in the woods, right? But a lot of people will take it home and hang it, right? So if it was, some people like to hang it or meat. So a lot of times you would hang it 3-4 days. It would break down the tendons, and the meat would become lean, more lean. So you would hang here, and then at that point you would butcher it, take it off. It's a lot of work, cutting it off the bones, and So usually you have a few people come and help, and then you give them meat as well, right? But I haven't hunted in decades now.
What would you like to say to Lucy?
I did that.
But
Oh, me first.
no, you go first.
Okay. No, I grew up with all this, but I didn't know all those things, so it's interesting for me